Team approaching target, Roger. Target acquired. I repeat, target successfully acquired.
For years, one question followed Nicolás Maduro everywhere he went. Not if the United States wanted him gone, but how they would ever reach him. He was protected by layers of soldiers, elite presidential guards, entire military units sworn to die for him, trained to respond to any threat from the skies or the ground, ready to give their lives without hesitation. And yet, on one night, it seemed none of them did. No firefight erupted. No last stand. No army rushed to defend their president. No sirens screamed through the streets. No alarms blared across Caracas. The palace remained silent in a way that should have been impossible. Because this wasn't a military failure. It wasn't incompetence. It wasn't luck. It was a betrayal. By every conventional rule of warfare, capturing Venezuela's president or any president at all should have been nearly impossible. Maduro didn't live in secrecy. He lived inside fortified power, a fortress of influence and armed protection. The presidential palace was guarded by elite units trained specifically to stop foreign incursions. With weapons, intelligence, and reinforcements at the ready. His movements were shielded by layers of surveillance, checkpoints, and encrypted communications. Airspace was monitored constantly, every flight tracked, every unusual signal scrutinized. Roads were secured by military convoys that would have slowed even the fastest invading force. Any foreign attempt to breach his defenses should have triggered chaos, alarms, and resistance so immediate and fierce that the operation might never have succeeded. But that's not what happened. That night, the impossible became reality. And the first red flag was that it didn't feel like resistance at all. Long before the raid, cracks had already begun forming inside the regime. Maduro's inner circle was no longer united. Generals distrusted one another. Commanders questioned their loyalties. Some officials quietly disappeared, defecting, fleeing, or cutting secret deals with external powers. Power was no longer held together by belief, by faith, by ideology. It was held together by fear, by the knowledge that survival sometimes depended on knowing when to switch sides. And fear doesn't stop betrayal. Because when personal survival becomes more important than loyalty, when the line between life and death is measured in days or hours, allegiance becomes negotiable. And that's exactly what made the night of the raid possible. Reports describe the operation unfolding with disturbing ease. No mass mobilization occurred. No presidential convoy rushed through streets lined with loyal soldiers. No defensive perimeter collapsed under fire. Instead, checkpoints stood down as if waiting for something. Units hesitated, frozen by conflicting orders or unseen influence. Orders weren't followed, or perhaps they never came in the first place. The kind of silence that blanketed the presidential palace that night isn't born from surprise. It's born from permission, from complicity, from knowing, deep down, that resistance is futile because the center of power has already been undermined. This wasn't a palace stormed with bombs and bullets. It was a door quietly opened, a throne taken without a shot being fired, a regime rendered hollow from the inside. Presidential guards don't abandon their posts by accident. They don't stand down on whim. They do it when the command structure is compromised, when loyalty has shifted imperceptibly but irrevocably, or when someone high enough tells them to yield. In tightly controlled regimes, betrayal doesn't look like chaos. It looks like nothing happening at all. No shots fired. No resistance. No dramatic last-minute heroics. Just men, trained to protect their leader at all costs, realizing that the leader they had sworn to defend is no longer the same figure they believed in. And so, they stood silent. They watched. They allowed events to unfold in eerie, deliberate stillness. If betrayal hadn't happened, this night would have been dramatically different. Roadblocks would have closed instantly. Air defenses would have activated, surface-to-air missiles cutting through the night sky. Gunfire would have echoed through Caracas, shaking buildings, illuminating streets in flashes of violence. Snipers would have taken positions. convoys would have sped, doors locked. Soldiers shouting commands, and the chaos of battle would have erupted into something catastrophic. A raid would have turned into a full-scale confrontation for both sides. The cost would have been enormous. The casualties unimaginable. But that didn't happen. The battle was already over before it began. The regime didn't fall that night through bullets or explosions. It surrendered without them. It fell because the people meant to protect it were no longer loyal. They had chosen survival over allegiance. The most dangerous weapon of all is not a tank, a plane, or a missile. It is the human heart when it is no longer aligned with the command it once served. The night Maduro was taken, that truth became painfully clear. The people surrounding him, the men and women sworn to uphold his authority, quietly chose another path. And in that choice, they changed history. They handed victory to the outsiders without firing a single bullet. They demonstrated that the fate of nations often rests not on military hardware or strategy, but on loyalty, trust, and the fragile bonds that hold power together. The raid, the operation, the abduction, it succeeded because betrayal paved the way, and because the silent surrender of those closest to Maduro removed every obstacle before the first movement of the US forces. That night, Nicolás Maduro wasn't overpowered by armies or outsmarted by technology. He was overtaken by the people who had once been his closest protectors. And it is in that betrayal that the full lesson lies. No fortress is impregnable when its guardians no longer believe in its cause. No leader can survive when the hands sworn to defend him have already been turned. And for anyone watching, it is a stark reminder that power, no matter how seemingly absolute, is always fragile. It is only as strong as the trust it commands, the loyalty it inspires, and the conviction that those entrusted with it will never let it fall, until, inevitably, they do.